It's been a while since we've done this, actually November of last year. So glad. Hopefully you can make it live. I'm just going to talk here for a few seconds, maybe a minute to let people get on before we jump into the topics. For housekeeping things, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please do so if you're interested, of course. So if you subscribe and then hit the bell notification when I go live like this, it will show up. I'm actually hoping to start doing lives again more often, and so hopefully those will be. We hopefully will announce them most of the time in the newsletter, but I might just start going live randomly for little short things. Appreciate your support. Remember, we have a ton of videos that you can look at and watch, and they're there for you. They're there for you as a library of resources. So you can try keyword searching our channel and type in illness or asthma or rash or whatever, and you might find some, or you can just kind of scroll through what's there. Okay, so let's get started on today's topic. If you are joining us live, and hopefully this is working, it's been a while since I've done this. I better double check really quick. So if you are joining us live, you can type a comment, and I'm using an app that helps me to stream, and so it takes a second for it to come. But once it does come, the comments will come here, and I can see it and respond in the chat. So that is the way we can do it. Okay, let's see if we are going live already, and I should have had this pulled up. Okay. We're going to talk about the topic. The topic is, it is live. We are going. Perfect. Great. All right, so the topic is illness, and this is not just illness. If you haven't watched my other videos before, we've done about terrain theory. We've done an updated terrain theory of pleomorphism, which is really fascinating. But today I want to do practicals. I want to keep this as short as possible to give you practicals. I want you to bookmark this and come back to it when you're sick or reviewing it once a month or something like that till you get it in kind of as an easy remembering for how to deal with illness, because we are not just going to talk about during illness. We are going to talk about before. So we're actually going to talk about before, during, and after, because after is really vital too. It could be considered before the next illness, but we're going to do before, during, and after. So number one, before illness, before we start having symptoms, how do we prevent it? I've had multiple people in the last week ask me, how do I keep my kids from getting sick at school or at daycare or whatever? There are a few categories of things we need to remember. Number one, toxins and malnutrition are what cause disease. So I grabbed Florence Nightingale, Notes on Nursing. If you have not read this, we are going to read this. Not all of it, just a quote, but you should read it, all of it. It's beautiful. It's small. It's tiny. Just read it. It's great. Okay, so her first page, basically after the table of contents, says, the first paragraph, the kind of subject heading is disease, a reparative process. And she states, shall we begin by taking it as a general principle that all disease at some period or another of its course is more or less a reparative process, not necessarily accompanied with suffering, an effort of nature to remedy a process of poisoning or of decay which has taken place weeks, months, or sometimes years beforehand unnoticed. So, and there's more, but that's the quote that I want to go on. So when, according to Florence Nightingale, who really did get it about disease, if the body is undergoing a restorative process during the symptoms of disease, what if we don't have to go through the process? What if the restorative process is very small, or we do it on a regular basis so we don't have to go through a major restorative process that we know as illness, sickness, or disease? That would be my postulation for how to prevent illness. It's very interesting because this is not an uncommon thought, right? If you eat well, if you get good sleep, then you don't get sick as often. We know all of that is true. But if you're eating well, what does that mean? It means you have enough nutrition for your body. If you have not seen it, I just posted Feeding Foods, Fun Foods, and Fake Foods on the channel that kind of talks about this idea of we need feeding foods. It's not just real food, it is food that feeds with dense nutrition for our bodies. What happens if we have dense nutrition in our bodies? We are going to have cells rebuilding themselves easily. We are going to have a strong functioning immune system. Immune system does not just defend us from germs, if that's even what happens. Listen to my pleomorphism ones. But immune system repairs damage, it causes inflammation, it is involved largely in the process of detoxification of toxins and things that are damaging to us. So if we feed our body, it can function well and not be broken. If our body is not broken, it doesn't have to repair or restore itself. So postulation number 1 for preventing illness is if we are feeding our bodies good food, that will help. Now, the problem with bad food, quote, bad food, or sugar foods, or too much carbohydrates, or too much of the wrong foods is twofold. Number 1, those foods take the place of feeding foods. So if you eat a whole bunch of blueberries, which are perfectly fine, now your stomach's full and you didn't eat your steak or hamburger or liver or butter or Russian custard or whatever you're supposed to be eating for your body. So one of the main problems with eating too many fun foods is not that that food's not real, it's that it takes the place of nutrition. There is, of course, a problem with processed foods, dyes, and like processed sugar and carbohydrates that are simple because it messes up our gut microbiome. We have toxins potentially coming in, red dye number 5 or whatever. And so there is a place for not eating foods, and it does weaken our immune system. Studies about the immune system being weakened by sugar, and it doesn't have to be processed sugar. Natural sugar can set our body in a state where the immune system cannot function as well. The other thing is toxins in general, right? So nutritional food, not too much fun foods or fake foods. Number 2, toxins. If we eat nutritional food, we won't have as many toxins, but there's lots of other places for toxins. This is called reducing your general toxic load. This is avoiding fragrances, dryer sheets, fake soap scents, not putting a lot of chemicals on your skin in lots of ways that we do, using natural products or no products, getting the chlorine out of your water, getting the mold out of your house. Those types of things are really important because your body has to work hard if that's happening. And if you can get things working easier, then you can, the body will have more room to restore the other things. And then you don't have to go through what Florence Nightingale describes as the restorative process, right? So then we don't have to get sick as much. Okay, so nutrition, detoxification. So we can avoid toxins as much as possible, but we also need to help the toxins come out. You are breathing in toxins and drinking it in your water and putting it on your, like it's coming on your skin from the atmosphere because we are surrounded by toxins. So how do you get toxins out? This is a great time to remind you of the chat. You don't have to answer because it's a delay, but shout it out to your screen. But you can chat questions, and it takes a few seconds for it to get to me, but you can chat questions as we're talking here. So how do we get toxins out? Detox baths, right? That's one of the huge tools we have. If you don't know what a detox bath is, it is apple cider vinegar or Epsom salt or baking soda or sea salt, or some other things that are more strong, half a cup to a cup in a bathtub for 15 to 20 minutes or more to let your body get things that help get stuff out that we don't want in. So the skin is a detox organ. We can use it to get things out. On the same vein, we can get toxins out by supporting our liver. We eat liver to feed our liver, and we cleanse our liver with beets. So juicing beets, beet kvass, eating beets. Those are always vegetable medley, beets with your sauerkraut, whatever you have, eating beets helps your liver to cleanse. When your liver is cleansing toxins, the toxins aren't around. And then there's less likely that you are going to have to go through a larger restorative process of illness or disease to get the toxins out. Okay. Toxins, general load of toxin reduction, nutrition, and rest/stress mitigation. This is the other thing. So rest is important. there's a few key things with rest. Number one, the rest that you get, meaning the sleep that you get before midnight, is multiple times, two to more, four is what I hear the most often, times more healing and restorative and reparative to your body than the sleep you get after midnight. Bedtime does matter. It matters for kids and it matters for adults. So somewhere between 7 for younger kids, 8 for a little older kids, 9 to 10, really we should all be going to sleep at 10. And I don't always do this either, but it does matter. It matters to go to sleep earlier before midnight to get some hours of sleep before the midnight hour. So try to go to sleep before 10 if possible. And getting your whole family on that is really going to help. Thankfully, it's now getting dark and it's easier to go to bed earlier. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, which is kind of like stress avoidance, is just understanding what stress is. So we think of stress as, maybe you think just of, oh, I'm stressed at work, or my life is stressful, or I'm busy, so I'm stressed. But stress really is our body having to work harder than it would, right? So when it's really cold outside, our body is stressed because it has to be working harder to keep ourselves warm than when it's a 75 to 85 degree day. Number two, sorry, I just got distracted by this question, which is really good, but I'll come back to it. So, nope, maybe I can't. Stress. Cold stress. Being sick is stressful. Our body is doing a bigger thing. Again, the general principle that I agree with, that Florence Nightingale agrees with, is the stress, the body is doing a restorative process when disease is there. Okay, so cold stress, stress, emotional stress, maybe a grief that happened in your family, maybe a change of pace. So if you're not used to something and you're starting a new pattern, aka school, you have a change of pace. Well, that is stressful to the body to get used to, and a new bedtime and all the things. So next year for school, maybe getting everybody into a rhythm of sleep at the right time and getting up, or even leaving the house some mornings at the time of school to like not have the pattern starting and school starting. And by the way, all the exposure to all the cleaning chemicals at your kid's school. There's plenty of reasons why we might be getting sick that has nothing to do with germs. When you think of the body going through a restorative process. So potentially it's germs, whatever, but also there's so much toxins and so much change of routine and so much stress and so much recovery from summer. Summer's really great for our bodies in some way, but eating cold food, being up later, things like that can actually be more stressful. Okay, Danica, I do not know why the sleep before midnight is more restorative. Just how the circadian rhythm of the body works is something we have learned about the body, and it's very much in agreement in all kind of aspects of natural health, like Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, and other studies. Like, it's very much in agreement that the sleep before midnight is more restorative. And it's just how the circadian rhythm works, how active the immune system is before that, how active growth hormone is. So hormones are all about what our body gets to know what to do. So growth hormone is more active at certain times of night. So that's going to be part of it. And we're designed to be in a natural rhythm with the earth. And when we are in that rhythm, it will reduce our stress. And when we're out of that rhythm, we actually have to work harder to be out of the rhythm. So staying up late or staying up overnight is harder because you are having to go contra to the larger rhythm around you. Okay, sorry, you guys keep asking me questions. I lost my train of thought for that, but it's fine. I'll figure it out. Okay, during illness. So let's go on. So that's hopefully helpful for prevention. And again, good food is going to be meat stocking, cod liver oil. And then there's other things that you could find helpful, like Thieves or On Guard essential oil diluted on the bottoms of the feet every day before you go out. Doing a detox bath when you get home, changing your clothes. And for me, changing clothes is not necessarily about germs. It's probably about the toxins, the things that you're kind of rolling around in. Grounding when you get home from school or work, going on the ground, touching the ground, hugging a tree, playing in the dirt, playing with animals, like those types of things where we are keeping our body there, getting good sleep, getting in a good sleep pattern, not getting sleep deprived. We should be able to wake up naturally and normally and cheerfully when it's time to get up before we have to go somewhere, right? So all those things. Let's see, am I missing anything? We talked about sugar. Fat is also very tolerant. So the last thing about stress is when your body's tired and hungry, everything is more stressful. And when your body's rested and well fed, the same thing is less stressful, right? So we on Friday versus Monday, depending on how your week works, right? We are more tired often at the end of the week than the beginning, depending on your weekend. Well, you could have the same daily activity, the same interactions with the same people, and they're going to be harder when you are tired and hungry, nutritionally depleted, than when you are full and well rested. That's just true. We know that's true. So that's going to be true for our kids. That's going to be true for us as we are working on keeping our body well. So long term and right now financially, a lot of people are under strain, right? And so what is the best way that we can do this? A lot of things are free. Soup is very inexpensive. Like making soup is one of the most efficient ways to cook. Not buying junk food and sugar is cheap. It costs time, but it doesn't cost money. Getting to sleep early is completely free. Taking a bath costs a little money, but not very much. Getting some bulk Epsom salts or something like that. Going out on the ground in the grass after you get home from work or school or before bed is free. So there are so many ways that we really can keep our body well. And there's ways we don't think about because they're so like simple and they're free, which we can just put off as like not important, but they are actually some of the most important things. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. When you are sick, what do? The biggest thing, if you are sick or you're watching your child be sick, is you have to ask, is their body winning or losing? And how do I support their body? Those are the two questions you have. So number one, is their body winning or losing? Unless they are breathing or having trouble breathing so fast that they can't keep up or having trouble breathing, vomiting to the point of dehydration, loose stools to the point of dehydration, their level of consciousness is wrong, right? They are either fainting or like just off, hallucinating, things like that, right? It is very obvious when the body's losing. We are not taught this differentiation, so we can get very scared about things when the body is not quite losing, but it's winning, but with a lot of work. So bleeding out, vomiting, dehydration, loss of consciousness, and trouble breathing or inability to breathe or turning blue. Those are the things that you need to go seek medical advice quickly, emergently, probably most of the time. If those things aren't happening, you have time to figure out how to help your body or your child's body. So the first thing would be to give your body rest. Sleep counts as work. I've talked to multiple people who we keep getting sick, and it's usually the adults that are staying sick longer because they're going back to work probably. Can we do it? Sometimes we can't, but then we know, well, I just can't. Can you cancel other things? When I get sick and I'm recovering, it's hard for me to take time off the clinic, but I will cancel everything else in my day so that I just come to work, or I will reduce appointments or sometimes cancel them. But I have to get my body so that it's resting and as calm as possible. We need to eat good, nourishing food, especially during illness. We really want to do it before because hopefully we'll prevent, but during we need to. No sugar, low carbohydrate foods, meat and stock and soup. It is okay if we eat less, even for kids. We just don't want to overwhelm the digestive system because that's actually a lot of work. And so we need to stay hydrated and we need to have some food, but we don't have to have a ton of food, especially just for a few days. Okay, let's see. Then we're going to get into extra things to do, but I'm kind of talking about the big picture, right? I'm going to give specifics. Big picture, if the body is winning, the body is going to do very active things. A fever is the body winning. Mucus production, especially when it's moving and running, is the body winning. A rash, especially if it comes after the worst days, like you had a couple sick days and your fever broke and you got a rash, is the body winning. That's the body winning. It's getting stuff out. It's moving it around. There's change happening. That's good. And we look at those symptoms, and that's often when parents call us on the sick line is, oh, they were doing okay and their fever broke, but then this rash came. Great. That's beautiful that the rash came, because that means the body got the toxins out and it's getting the toxins out. So if the skin is having stuff, it tells you to do a detox bath. If your mucus production is happening, it's telling you to blow your nose, spit it out, do not swallow it again. Doing mucus removal things. So neti pot for some people, like older people, like kids and adults, doing Mullen steam tents. I'm going to work on some of these recipes or like blog posts over the next month or so to get these on the blog. So doing a Mullen steam tent, doing a castor oil pack on the chest, or the liver and the abdomen, depending on what's going on. Doing hydration techniques of just little sips of water, or stock, so that we can keep hydrated without triggering the vomiting, like full tummy vomiting reflex. Let the body cleanse, let the body move, let the body have a fever. Now, we do recommend doing calcium lactate most of the time, or an Epsom salt bath, but warm. You don't want to chill someone. Calcium lactate will not bring the fever down if the body wants it high. I've seen it many times where the fever stays high, even with calcium, because the body wanted fever, temperature, not calcium. The reason why we recommend calcium lactate so often is because most of the time the fever is actually the hypothalamus trying to get calcium out of the bones. So we just give calcium to the body, so that we don't have to pull it out of our bones. We can just give it. And then the fever goes away because the hypothalamus said, thank you, great, we have calcium now. We'll get to those again. But when the body is doing mucus, when the body is moving, rashing, coughing, anything that is not the things I mentioned that are emergent, it is okay to keep supporting. Now, you can support the body while it's winning to do so well that the symptoms go away, for a little while at least, during the illness. Have you ever been sick and you're laying on the couch and you feel fine, but then you get up and you start doing things and you feel weak, or you have a headache, or you get nauseous, or you're stuffy again, or you just kind of get run down again? Your body was winning and the symptoms were gone because you did all the things. And so that's where her quote, she says, all disease at a period or another is more or less a reparative process, not necessarily accompanied with suffering. I feel like the suffering part of disease that we are so used to can be mostly mitigated. Now, the body's doing a hard thing and you have to do things because of that, right? But I think we can mostly mitigate that if we learn to listen to the body as best as possible. So frequency, and duration and persistence are the words that came to mind about what to do during an illness. So a lot of people will do one day where they're spot on. They eat no sugar, they go to bed early, they take a bath or two, they have stock, they have caramelized onions or something like that, and they feel great. And then they felt better. So then they stopped. That happens all the time. Or they gave calcium lactate, the fever went away, and then the fever came back and they were like, the fever's back. And then they start needing other things, or feeling like they need to use medications, or they get worried, or they go into the urgent care or something. You just needed to do calcium lactate more. So persistence and frequency of natural things are really important. When the body gets calcium lactate and the hypothalamus says, thank you, that's all I needed, and the fever goes away, then if the fever comes back, that means you're probably out of calcium. So give more. You're never going to overdose if you're dosing per the body's symptoms. And we're going to give small amounts. Most kids need a quarter to a half of a tablet at a time. Adults, we might need 2 to 4 at a time, depending on how we're feeling. But we just dose a little bit. You're never going to overdo it if you're listening to the body. We're also going to look at other tools. So magnesium baths help balance out the calcium lactate. If the calcium's not working anymore, stop doing it, or just do a little bit of it kind of as baseline. If you are doing cod liver oil and the kid looks great afterwards, their cough is better or their skin looks better for 5 hours, do extra doses of cod liver oil. If you do meat stock and you're like, oh, the only thing they'll drink is meat stock, or the only thing they'll do is some boiled meat and veggies, Great, do that. And so I give you permission as parents or as a person of yourself, your own body, when your body is telling you something or you're feeling like this is a thing to do it. It's okay. You do have the ability to have good intuition for your child and yourself during illness. Now, this takes tons of practice. I've been sick so many times since I have started doing this because it's been 10 years since I've started doing this. And I'm getting better and I'm still not arrived. Sometimes I mess up. Sometimes I don't understand what my body wants. Sometimes I choose to not listen and I push myself too hard or work too hard, right? So there is a lot of things, a lot of grace, but you can do it, right? You can do it and you can work on it and it will be good. And as long as your child is still breathing and they're not dehydrated, which means they've had a wet diaper, at least in the last, or peed in the last 8 hours, if they are not changing their level of consciousness to a dangerous. Now, that doesn't mean they're not fussy or crabby or sleepy or sluggish. That's fine. They're allowed to be, they're sick. But if they are like hallucinating, high-pitched screaming, eyes rolling back in their head consistently, having seizures, it's obvious when they're not okay. So if they are okay enough and their body is winning and just needs help to do a really hard job, then help it do the really hard job. So there's some specifics, and I'm trying to figure out how to kind of get these protocols more available to you guys. But right now, just use the basics that you know, use the basics you can find on YouTube here that you know about stock. So lungs love fat. We need lots of fat for lungs. The mucus is thinned from hydrating fluids, and fruit and Pedialyte do not count as hydrating fluids because they have to be non-sweet hydrating fluids. Castor oil applied to any part of the body brings blood flow and will cause movement of fluid, meaning the mucus will get thinner, your gut will go, you will clean out things. So castor oil moves stuff. Mullein steam tent is very soothing. Meat stock is nourishing to your body and hydrating to your body. Salt and electrolytes are very important for keeping hydration, which helps your body to function. What did I miss? And then skin is just your body saying, I'm getting toxins out, please help me. So hopefully that kind of covers like the big things. If you look at those principles and the big things that does, hopefully that is helpful. Okay. The last thing that I kind of covered is supporting or listening to what your body's doing and supporting it, but trust that the body knows what it's doing. This is something that is not standard in modern medicine, but trusting that the body is not going rogue or out of its league or over its head. We do need to support it, and we need to not rip away the support, which is what the aftercare is about. But trust that your body knows what it's doing. If that mucus is running, don't stop it with a decongestant. It's running. You can help it finish running, and so that you can feel better sooner. You can protect your nose skin so that you don't get so raw. You can help by spitting it out instead of swallowing it, where the body has to deal with those toxins again. But nose running doesn't need to be stopped in terms of helping the body heal. If you do need to stop it for work or something like that, you're probably going to prolong your illness time because you stopped what the body was doing. Sometimes we have to do that because the reality of our world, but that's not the goal. If your body wants to sleep because that's what it needs to do, trust it and let it sleep. If you're a child or you sleep 20 hours a day, it is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not scary or wrong. If we are breathing and we are not confused once we're fully awake, you can be sleeping a lot. That's totally fine. If the body doesn't want to eat it very much and just stay hydrated with little sips and some salt water, great. Trust the body in that. So that is kind of the idea there. And then when we give support to the body at the end, think about doing the same things you were just doing at approximately the same level for at least a week after you're well. Now, if you were taking 5 detox baths a day in the intense periods, that's not going to be practical, and you probably don't need to do that. But take a detox bath every day for the next week or two. If you've been doing cod liver oil, you might not need quadruple the dose like you were doing on that really hard day, but you might need double the dose for a few days to a week, afterwards. if you were doing calcium lactate and the fever's gone, don't the second the fever's gone, never give calcium lactate again because the fever potentially will come back. So give one dose that you were giving, even though you used to give it 5 times or 10 times a day, now you just give it once or twice a day, right? So it's okay to back down to some degree, but we don't want to, and I use the word on purpose, we don't want to rip away the support we were giving to the body, because if the body's well supported, the symptoms disappear. It doesn't mean the cleansing restorative process is over yet. So that cleansing restorative process might need 2 weeks, but maybe it only needed 4 intense days, and then it could take the next week or 2, but in the background would be okay. But if you rip away the body's support that made it go, the symptoms go to kind of not noticeable, like you started staying up late, or you ate a lot of sugar, or caffeine or chocolate is actually really not great for your immune system either when you're sick, or oranges, actually not that good either, especially for viruses. So if you rip that away, or you drastically change things, or you go out and you get cold and wet, you know, don't protect your throat when you had a sore throat, like wear a called scarf around your throat when you are going out, when you're not feeling good. If caramelized onions and twice as many egg yolks have been what really helped you through something, keep doing those. Don't stop doing those. So that's kind of my other plea. I feel like I'm pleading, but I'm pleading for your body and from your body. Let your body feel let your body have the support it had so it can feel supported and it feel connected. Okay, I see another comment come in. Let's see if I have anything else. And then ask any other questions for anyone else who's joining live. You can type in. You don't have to have a YouTube account. YouTube is just Google. So if you have a Google or you're signed in with Google, you can just type in a comment and it will get to me here in a second. Yeah, so after symptoms resolve, keep supporting the body with approximately the same amount for the next week minimum. That is going to really help. And remember, support is not just cod liver oil. Support is also going to bed on time, not eating sugar, doing detox baths, and castor oil packs or things like that. Okay, what would help a kiddo who has a cold with an intense headache, especially at bedtime, and it's keeping them awake? So remember I said that one of the body winning things is mucus moving. So usually headaches are mucus not moving. So getting the mucus moving is great. You can do a little castor oil on like the face and kind of do like a lymph massage with castor oil. That could be helpful. You can also do the mullein steam tent. So let me just tell you quickly what it is. 2 tablespoons of mullein leaf. Mullein is spelled M-U-L-L-E-I-N. Mullein leaf is an herb. There's various ways you can find it. You may have it growing in your yard. No pesticide in it, obviously, but if it's a clean place, you can use it fresh or dried. Dries in about 8 hours. You crush up the leaves or get them crushed or pull them out of the capsule or whatever, about 2 tablespoons in 1.5 quarts of water in a pan with a lid on the stove. You boil that water with the tea and steep it for a few minutes. With the lid on, take the lid and the person under a blanket on the floor and make a steam tent. Take Kleenex with you, take the lid off, sit there, let the steam just come in. It will get everything running. You'll blow stuff out. It's beautiful to do before bed. Mullein is one of my favorite things to do when I have sinus stuffiness. You can reuse the mullein multiple times. So once you're done, put a hot pad underneath so you don't burn your carpet, please. So once you're done, take the mullein, put it back on the stove, cold, let it cool down, but you can reboil and reuse that for a couple days. So that is going to be super helpful. Doing that 2, 3, 4 times a day is really great. You can also do some bentonite clay. So bentonite clay, get a little mud, make a little mud in your hand and just do a mask. Leave it on for 10 to 15 minutes and then wash it off. Bentonite clay pulls toxins out and then you wash it off and the toxins go with it. That can be really helpful for sinus things also. The last thing, and I did shoot a video for this that's going to show up that will be a lot clearer, but we can do lymph drainage with our hands. This is kind of a good, helpful thing. So the hand on our back goes on the back with the back of the hand facing your back. So like this, the small of your back, and then this one goes over your umbilicus. This position is actually an electrical conduction circuit. And you actually start helping the lymph flow from your gut There's a lymph kind of reservoir here. And then after 10 minutes, you move your front hand up to your sternum. The backhand stays on the low back where it is. And then after 10 minutes, you move your front hand either to the throat or to the face. You can do 3 spots or 4 spots. That really helps things drain. Sometimes the lymph can't drain from the head because it's backed up further down. So we have to get the reservoirs cleared out lower down, a little lower down, and then we can clear the face. Some viruses just do cause headaches, and I think it's inflammation. So eating high fat, doing detox baths, lavender essential oil, things that are just soothing, cool or hot, depending on what they have. And then don't forget about homeopathics. I'm not a homeopath. I talk about those very vaguely, but I do recommend that you Google search homeopathic remedy for. So homeopathics like these, right? Homeopathic remedy for headache, homeopathic remedy for sinus congestion. That's going to be your best way to get. Homeopathy Plus is where I'm at a lot, but there's other good articles when you're looking for a symptom-based kind of remedy, because there's multiple for a cough, there's multiple for a headache. So you need to find out what they are. Okay, so to review, and I'm going to give a chance for people to ask questions, and I'm going to try to end this by 40 minutes, so for the next 5 minutes or less, but type in any more questions that you have. So for review, how do we prevent getting sick, as we say? If we don't have toxins in our body and we have good nutrition, our body can do the jobs so that it hopefully doesn't have to do kind of an intense job. Sometimes an intense job is needed, especially for kids, because their immune system has not learned things. There is really cool evidence, and go watch my other terrain theory videos about the upgrades, especially the pleomorphism one, about the upgrades that viruses do for our cells. So basically, our body learns how to deal with the environment around it, especially when it changes, like there's new introduction of things like increased electrification, which is happening because of 5G, new toxins, things like that. Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride talks about that specific viruses or specific microbes know how to cleanse something, and your body knows. So it will invite that microbe to cleanse that thing that it has exposure to in the environment. But if you're able to cleanse it in the more standard detox pathways, maybe you won't have to get sick as long or as intensely, or potentially not at all, to notice. Your immune system sometimes have to learn things, but often it's toxins and malnutrition that we're correcting with an illness. We need to make sure we go through an illness well, meaning we support our body with nutrition really well. And then we need to keep doing the nutrition and not rip that support, not just nutrition, the detox support, the nutritional support, the rest and stress reduction support. We need to keep that support for at least a week after we're feeling better, because that enables our body to complete the task it's doing and not needing to redo the task so that you get sick another 3 to 5 days later. One more plea I just thought of for your child. For a child, it is stressful to leave the house, even if it's not scary or stressful. It is a lot of work to go out, to not be in control, to not know who you're meeting, to sit in the car, to be changing temperatures, especially in the winter. So when your child is sick, and if at all possible, let them stay home for a lot of days that they can. For current patients, we actually have a form that you can request on Practice Better, which is our EMR system, for a sick note that does not require an appointment. You just let us know what your child's symptoms are and that they need it. We're going to evaluate it. Obviously, it's going to still be legitimate, but you don't have to have an appointment. You don't have to call the sick line, because we are passionate about the idea that people need to rest. Now, this is only available and will ever only be available to current patients. But if you are a current patient, your child's a current patient, we are very happy to help assist you in resting as long as possible. Sometimes that's not possible, especially for adults with jobs. And so resting as much as possible, giving yourself as much nutrition, reducing your stress, things like that are really helpful too. So in summary, is it wrong for our body to have restorative or regenerative processes? No. Can we go through those with very mild symptoms? Yes, possibly. Sometimes we can't. It's too intensive a detoxing, so we just have to do it. Things out of our control, like 5G might really affect you, and you can't help that. So your body needs to upgrade. It needs to cleanse. But a lot of things we can. So if you reduce your toxins, keep your nutrition good, keep your stress and your body just cared for, then there's a really good chance that you will get sick less often. When you do get sick, rest well, and you will probably get sick less time and not kind of re-up it. So hopefully that's helpful. So the first time I like talked all that concept out loud. So I'm hoping from this we can kind of get some like little snippets and other things, but under 40 minutes. So hope you all have a lovely night. Comment if you're watching this on a replay, and I will see you guys all next time.